All right. Well, hello, everyone. It's me again. Thank you so much for joining us. There is our director. Usually, I already put my mic down over there, I think. He always makes a cameo every week. All right. So, thank you so much for joining us. This week, we're talking about something very important: stress awareness. I know we've talked about it before, but it's actually, there's a whole month dedicated to it. It started back in the 90s, but it's apparent now more than ever, not just because there's so many adults who are stressed due to the pandemic and there's so many other factors, but also kids. And that's what we're really focusing on, because many times from just the articles that I've read and the mental health experts that I've talked to, it's overlooked because, parents or just adults just going through their lives and not realizing that their kid could be stressed and need help dealing with that. So I have with me two people. So first off, I have Carol Moleta here. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So you are actually in the East Coast.
I am.
All right. And you are a parent expert and also a consultant as well. So tell me about why you think this is such an important topic and how, unfortunately, this has just gotten worse.
Well, certainly the pandemic ushered in a lot of stress for kids and their parents as well. But also, our children are facing so many challenges. I mean, the pandemic, dealing with social media, we've got war, just a lot of things going on. And so children just really need to know how to process what's going on. And even when it's not big newsworthy events that are happening, just hiccups in their lives, obstacles that they encounter, it's great for them to have some strategies so that they can meet the challenges and move forward.
And we're doing a story. I interviewed you earlier, you and Dr. Gibbs, who we're going to talk to in just a bit, but just about how there are so many people that might think, well, I mean, kids, what kind of stress do they have? Kind of overlooking that. And that has been the mentality for so long. I would say a generational thing, just because
Sure.
that's just how it's been, specifically in some cultures. So why is it crucial to change that?
I think it is because by saying that, like, what do children have to worry about, you're really talking them out of their feelings. They know that something's going on. There are physical signs, there are biological signs. They know something's going on with them. And so when the adults around them tell them that they have nothing to worry about, and then they don't learn to trust their instincts, and they're going to need their instincts.
Definitely. And so, what do you see as, I guess, some telltale signs that your child is under stress versus going through some type of teenager hormonal something or another, which could actually lead to stress as well?
Sure. So, I mean, really, it's this you notice how they're interacting with you. Maybe they are withdrawn. Maybe they're just staying away from the rest of the family. They're not doing things that they normally would like to do. And maybe a loss in appetite. Maybe they are sleeping more, or maybe they can't even fall asleep. And so those are the kinds of things. But particularly when you notice them moving away from people and things and activities that you know they enjoy, then that can really be a sign that something's going on.
All right. I want to add Dr. Gibbs to this conversation. Hello there. Let's see how
Hello.
this works. Why do they have me as the bigger one? Let me see here. Okay. Um, I do this whole thing by myself too, so it's a work in progress. But I wanted to ask you. So, Dr. Gibbs, you have two children, 12 and 14. Um, and how did you start to notice that your children were under some stress?
Yeah, I absolutely started to notice, as Carol said, when there was a change in, their normal motivation. I also noticed a change in their affect in terms of wanting to be isolated, not wanting to engage as much in movement routines. So just knowing my kids and knowing that there was a change was a sign for me.
And what did you do? Because you also have tried to conquer your children facing that stress and anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the case of one of my children, what I did was work together with the school team. I reached out to my child's pediatrician, and we came up with some strategies that might work for my child. Also, because I knew that socialization was so important for my kid, especially during the pandemic. I reached out to other parents where we could have some safe friend group times. So, just really looking at what my child valued the most, which was socialization and spending time with friends and having opportunities to be out of the house.
All right. And I just want to show your children. Sorry, here they are. Beautiful children there. So
Thank
they're a
you.
little younger there, right?
Yes, they are. They're now 12 and 14. And
Yes.
this happened during the pandemic. They were in elementary and now they're in middle school.
That's crazy. Also, those matching outfits, amazing.
Thank
Love that.
you.
So tell me how you also in the story that is going to air tonight at 9 p.m. Central Time, how did you decide that there were some things you were seeing, not decide, but what were things that you were seeing other parents do that was kind of like a red flag and you thought, I wish things were a little different or how they approached it would be different?
Yeah, absolutely. What I saw other parents doing, as Carol mentioned earlier, was minimizing their kids' feelings. For example, sometimes kids would say, I have this problem or this issue. And at times a parent might say, well, you really don't have issues. You're not paying all these bills and dealing with the level of issues that we have to deal with as adults. So that's one of the things that I often see parents have done that for me was a red flag in minimizing a child's feelings and views of the world.
Now, I wanted to bring this out because we do have a viewer. Let me try to make it. Who said that right here, Paula saying that honestly, I think this generation doesn't handle emotional processing like prior generations because of technology and social media. This leads to not knowing how to handle life stress, which is, I totally agree with, because there's that other factor of social media that's kind of this outlet. And Carol, I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on Paula's comment.
Well, I absolutely believe that social media and just technology does contribute to stress because, face it, it's too much information. Like they just don't need to know what everybody's doing. And, because they're measuring themselves against that. And honestly, I feel like I was much better off not knowing what my peers in Indiana were doing when I was growing up. I just was able to go to school and have fun with my friends in a way that was satisfying to me. And I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to have this fear of missing out on what other people were doing. And, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. I didn't know what all of my friends were doing in Maryland,
Yeah.
So it's really a lot. It's a lot of information.
And I got to tell you that me being in the media, posting what I'm going to post on social media, it's so much a part of my process of thinking. And I know it is for teenagers. I can't speak for obviously elementary kids because I've talked to teenagers and it's like, what am I going to post on Snapchat? Can I take a picture? And you even see it whenever you're seeing people on vacation and stuff, they're on their phones. They're doing that, and it's sad. But how do you combat that? I mean, I know there's some ways. I've talked to child psychologists saying dinner time is the time where you put all the phones away and we actually talk. So what are some suggestions both of you have? Because I know that Dr. Gibbs, you also probably implement, screen time to only be limited.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, Dr. Gibbs, first.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I would say as a parent and as a parent educator, I would say really limiting the screen time, as you mentioned. And it's not just your typical screen time, it's your phone screen time. It can, in some cases, it's your watch screen time, television, uh, everything, because it is information overload. And also, not just limiting it, but having those conversations with kids, talking to them about the health benefits of not having as much stimulation by screen times. Today, kids are very resilient, they're very intelligent, and just saying don't do this or don't do that doesn't fly like it has in the past. So our kids need to know why we are asking them to do what we're asking them to do. So my approach is to partner with our kids so that they would accept, so that they will be willing to accept what's best for them.
I agree. And it's kind of a combination of what Dr. Lakeisha Gibbs said, that partnering with them, and when I think about partnering with them, it's also to find out, what is it that you enjoy? What are your objectives? Why do you like to connect on social media? And try to help them to figure out a way how you all work together to figure out a way so that they can accomplish their goals, but also have some moderation with their devices. And so I definitely agree with what you said before about making sure that there are no electronics at the table during any meal time, and that is a time to talk. I mean, like, not even have television. That was something that we did. And something else that we did was everybody had to park their devices downstairs. Like, we didn't even take them upstairs to our bedrooms. There was just, in the evening, you left them in downstairs in the family room or in the office. The only reason I have my phone near me now is because I have an elderly parent. But otherwise, I don't like my phone in my room at all.
Yeah, it was actually kind of sad, but it was great because I went to a wedding and they had you put all your phones in like basically these lockers. I'm like, wow, like living in the moment is so awesome. I mean, at first I was like, oh, well, but then I'm like, well, the people that I need are right around me, so we're going to be fine.
Yes.
So when you talk about those specifically with stress, what are things that you would tell parents to do right now when it comes to trying to, not like you were saying, Dr. Gibbs, we're always trying to find solutions. And so it's not always about that. What is the process that we can go ahead and start the conversation we can start having now?
I would say definitely knowing your child. Our kids are changing as they go through that adolescent age. So, your sweet kid that you had when they were, 8 to 10 are now different individuals as they're evolving and growing and changing. So I definitely think it's so important to understand the different milestones and pay attention to those milestones as we did when they were babies and toddlers. Is so important to do that. And of course, listening to our kids and making sure that we're listening to the nonverbals as well. Paying attention to change in behavior. Other things parents can do is making sure that they are modeling a healthy diet for their kids, because it's not just change in behavior, but it's what our kids put inside of their bodies. So making sure that kids have proper diet and exercise and movement, because as we said earlier, kids spending so much time on social media and on screen time, they're not moving around. They're not outside riding their bikes and running around. They're on video games and they're spending a lot of time with their devices. So if we can encourage parents to really get back to having their kids move, there is power in movement. There's something happens to our brains when we can physically move and not stay in one place and be stimulated especially with the blue light.
Definitely. And what about you, Carol?
Well, in addition to that, I'd really talk about how now you can have them to develop good habits. So by establishing some limits, some time limits on screen time, and where they can go on screen time, where they put their devices when they're finished with them, engaging in conversation with family, doing activities that don't involve any electronics. Those are the kinds of things. And also, to the extent that they are flocking to their devices because of stress, start teaching them some stress management skills now, some calming strategies that they can use so that they can, first of all, learn to recognize stress in themselves and then take good care of themselves.
And it's so important. And I'm so I love what you said about how this kind of sets the foundation, because you're dealing with stress now. It's not going to stop. You're always going to have some type of stress, but how you deal with it. This is just kind of laying out the foundation work, whether you're a 2-year-old or, 70-year-old. Like, it doesn't matter. It's always there. One of the thing that I'm going to, Cynthia, you said we need more outdoor activities. Like when I was a kid, skate lock-ins, church lock-ins. And then she brought up, but it's too much shooting and criminal activities going on. It's not like it used to be. Like, I know that, like my grandparents were like, we could just run around and play and do whatever. So it is harder, I would say, for parents in that regard, because how do you know what is safe and what is not safe, minus the technology? So how do you deal with that, Dr. Gibbs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a concern, right? As a parent, as a human, when they leave your home, when they're going to school or they're going outside, there's always that concern of safety, because we all want our kids to be safe. But at the same time, the reality is they live in a world that we have to hope and pray for the best when they leave our area, because you send them to school or you send them to get the mail. At any time, anything could happen. So what's important is not to encourage our kids to live in fear and not project that as a parent. So we want to project that our kids are resilient. We want to project that as parents. We want them to see us as confident and let them feel and trust that we believe that they will be okay. As far as movement is concerned, they can also move in the home. I can think of tons of chores, of activities that they can do to move at home that are not on their devices.
Yes.
Just ask my kids.
Chores, that's a good thing to put on there too. Well, that's great. Well, I was going to also bring up, Carol, you have a book out. So
Yes.
I wanted to talk about that. If we can get this, hold on a second. Do you want to just talk a little bit about your book? Here it is.
Yes, it's an anthology, The Parenting Odyssey: Trials, Treasures, and Triumphs of Parenting in the Pandemic. And as things would happen, Dr. Lakeisha is one of the co-authors as well. There are 15 co-authors and I curated their stories. And so I just felt it was very important to capture the lessons, the inspirational stories, so that it can encourage other families that are going through this, but also for the authors that participated in the project. I wanted them to reflect and kind of own how they have risen to meet this moment. Because a lot of times when there are stressful events happening in our lives, we forget to pat ourselves on the back, or at least acknowledge what we've done. And so I really wanted that to happen as well. And then I also felt that for the families who participated in the anthology, it's a bit of history that is captured for future generations, because a lot of families made some major changes in the midst of the pandemic. They reevaluated their lives. They made some choices. They may have left jobs. They may have started businesses. They may have decided that they were not spending enough time with family, or they weren't really living their true values. And so they've made some changes. And so this anthology documents that for not only our families, those of us who participated in the project, but for others who would read the book and wonder what happened in 2020.
Yeah, that's so great, because we're living in it and we don't realize there's no documentation that we're just doing it all in our heads, but actually to put it in the book, that'd be great. And I put this out there, so it's on Amazon. You can get it for $20, and you've got some great ratings on it already. So I would definitely encourage everyone to go out and see if they can read this. It's a great resource. I want to thank both of you for coming on and talking to me about this topic, which I think pertains to so many people, and mental health has been such a big topic, especially during the pandemic. So thank you both so much. And tonight we will have the story more on this topic. So please do tune in 9 p.m. Central Time. You can go to fox26houston.com/live, and that's where you can find it if you are not in the Houston area like you both. So thank you both, and all of you, thank you for joining us this week again. And I do hope to see you next week for another edition of Parent to Parent. We'll see you later.
Thank you.